everyone, welcome to this new series from Rita Berman's autumn book. Now I've purposely picked a page which is also from her compilation book, so if you've got it, she's now released it in English, or if you've got the German version, you can colour along if you haven't done this page already. So I've got lots of rain on this page, which is exactly what it is doing here today. But let's have a look at this one. I've had a little idea about this page I wanted to do like a rainbow of trees, but there's 7 of them, which seem to make sense. However, this is an autumn book, so we're going to do an autumn rainbow. So it's not going to have it's not going to go red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet, indigo violet, sorry. It's going to go more like yellow, orange, terracotta, red, light brown, mid brown, dark brown, that sort of thing. So we're going to have a sort of autumnal colour scheme going on. I'm going to be using the Castle Arts Gold, and we're basically going to do 1 tree a day, and then we'll do the other bits on another video. So it's going to be quite a longish series, but I just wanted something quite short and sweet each day for a little while. I thought it would be rather nice. Now this tree is quite small. I'm going to start off with the yellows, my nemesis colour. So I don't want to go really light, because I don't associate really light yellow with autumn. Maybe a little. I'm just looking at the colours, so I'm not going to use the sort of creamy yellows, the primrose, the golden yellow, those sorts of colours, but I might use a little bit of the lemon. So we've got a lemon yellow light. I might just start with this one, lemon yellow light. Now I want to use a series of different colours, so I'm just having a look at how to maybe split this up a little bit. Now these are interesting because where they overlap you have a bit of different colour, and that's giving me something to think about at the same time. So what I'm going to do to start with, I think, is use this yellow, which actually I need to sharpen, to do the very outside of the tree. Here we go. So I'm going to start on this trunk. I was going to do the trunks all brown, but I've just done this one yellow. So I guess the trunks are going to be the same colour as the rest of the tree, which I think makes sense in this sort of context. And I'm just plain colouring this really, just getting a nice bright layer for our sort of outside. It's almost like a sort of border, isn't it? So that's what I'm thinking, just get a good thick application really. Now you don't have to press hard. I'm going to imagine there's some lines here. I can imagine that stops there, I think, or maybe up to there. I'm just going to draw in a bit and shade it in like that. See that? Yeah, that can fade out to there. Yeah, that's it. So we sort of imagined a little bit of it, but there is our first sort of layer. It looks a lot less lemony in my camera than it does to my eye. So that's the light lemon, the lemon yellow light. And now I'm going to use the lemon yellow, which is a much more intense version. And we're going to do the next layer in, keeping it quite simple, but we have got a pattern on this one. So we are going to take notice of that pattern and do something with it later. So I'm keeping this, I'm doing a layer over. I'm trying not to burnish too hard because I want to do something over that bit. I haven't decided what yet, but we'll see. And that one just sort of fades off there. Okay. But we can see, hopefully, there's a slightly different tone of yellow. And I'm going to continue through my pencil. So this is the cadmium yellow light. Now this starts to get a little more orangey. And we're just doing the same thing, so just a layer down. Now I've got to decide on this bit where these two overlap. It almost looks like this bit's over the top and then we can see through this bit. So I'm not sure how to quite do these bits. I've got to do it all the way through and I need to sort of make a decision. I think I might just pretend it's part of this tree rather than the other tree. So I'm taking that right in, and that looks like we actually need to go down there a little bit. So I'm going to use the lemon yellow light just to finish that bit there. I think that makes more sense. I wasn't quite sure what would work until I've done that bit, and now I feel that is the best way. Now this centre section I'm going to do all one colour. Let me have a little look. What colour is that? I'm going to use the brilliant yellow. I don't think the cadmium yellow is quite right. Here it is. Sorry. There we go. And just fill in this section. I'm hoping that it will look like all of these are different colours, because that they are. There we go. Now, earlier today something was brought to my attention by myself, it just popped in my head, that maybe I should occasionally remind you about your posture when you're colouring, to make sure that you're sitting at a place that supports your body in a way that means that you don't get backache or neck ache or even hand ache or eye strain. It depends how long you're colouring for, but sometimes it can be quite, you can get a little sore. Now we're going to put a few touches in. I'm going to start with maybe a surprising colour, surprise to me anyway. I'm going to use this leaf green light to put some of these in. These lines here. Now I know I always said it was going to go yellow, orange, red and whatever, but I don't see the harm in putting a little bit of green in. Just this first one, probably not the rest. It's not going to show up over the top of all of the yellows, but I just thought it's quite a yellowy green. So it just occurred to me that it might just work on this first one like that. Now these bits inside it's not going to show up on, so I've got to make a decision about what to do with those. Now I can do like the cadmium yellows a little bit darker. I think I'll go with that actually, because that won't interfere with any of the yellows I want to use next. So here's the cadmium yellow. And what I'm going to do with this one, I'm going to do these little bits, just darken them slightly. It's really very simple what I'm doing. I tried green on that, it didn't really work. And then on these circles, not sure how well it's showing up, to be honest. We'll see how it looks when I'm done. Might do something else. Just trying to layer it up a little bit so it shows up. I think it does. Like that. Now I'm just going to grab the cadmium yellow light, because that is a bit messy. You may not need to tidy yours up like I have with mine. Now, so we've got our first tree. Again, I'm just going over a few of the bits, going back over them, because I always find yellow very hard to see. So I'm hoping that it's quite neat. But knowing me, it probably isn't. When I come to edit and zoom in, I'm like, oh, why didn't I notice that looks so bad? Hopefully that's okay. And I'm thinking, because this one's quite small, we could maybe do a little element of the sort of surrounding bit. So we've got like our grass at the bottom, we've got our clouds at the sky, in the sky, sorry. We could do a little bit of those just to get us started. If we look down here at the bottom, we've got these three sections, they don't go on beyond here, are sort of little lines. And, oh, they do, actually there's a little bit along here as well. Yeah. And I'm thinking maybe those are the grass, and then this is soil underneath. So maybe we'll just do this little top layer of sort of grass, and we could use a green for that. I know this is sort of autumn picture, but we can have a little bit of green on the ground because grass doesn't change colour in the autumn, of course, as well, you know. So I am going to use the leaf green deep. I feel like I want a darkish colour because we've got such a small space to fill, that if I use a darkish colour, then it may just stand out a little bit more. And I don't just want to flat colour it. What I want to do is put a darker amount where this line is, the lower line. And then I'm hoping to just fade it up a bit. I don't know if that will really show up very well. We'll try it with the next one. See what happens. I'm not sure if it shows that much. Perhaps we need a bit of a darker colour underneath that. I'm just going to move the pencils so I can move my arm a bit. Put my elbow down on pencils, it's quite painful. So I figure if we do a tree and then a little bit of the rest each day, then we'll get it all done, maybe without having a final video to just do these bits. I find sometimes these bits aren't so exciting, or maybe even a little bit daunting. So if we can do just a little bit each time, then that'll be good. Now that isn't dark enough for me in the spaces where I wanted it to be dark. So I'm going to grab the veridian, and I'm just going to put in a few darker bits. Now you don't have to do this if you're happy with how it looks, but I'm just not doing what I wanted it to do. So I'm just going to put like a dark green just above that line, and hopefully there we go. And then we'll just keep going in the same way across. It's quite finicky fiddly work, but hopefully it will be worth it and it will look a bit more like I hoped. I think it does. I'm happy with that. It just gives it doesn't look like grass, but then the bit below doesn't either, so I think it just gives it a bit more of an interesting feel. So that is our first one. So that was quite straightforward. When we do a tree that isn't yellow, I'll probably do a bit more shading and things like that on it, but with yellow I find that particularly difficult, so I kept it a little bit simpler, just brushing it off for you. There we go. So tomorrow's tree will be more orangey. What I'm going to try and do is not use the same colours more than once if I can, so we can work through the colours, doing a sort of, as I say, like a rainbow of autumn. So hopefully it'll all work out, but we'll see what happens. I like this tree. Looks like it's been dipped in sprinkles. Actually, they're hundreds and thousands because they're circles. Sprinkles are long, thin ones. I had this conversation with my son yesterday. Sprinkles are the long, thin strands, sugar strands we used to call them. And these are hundreds and thousands. These are round and they're really hard to break your teeth. Lovely. Anyway, that's me for today. There's some very interesting British trivia for you. How exciting. Anyway, thank you for watching. Hope you have a lovely day, and hopefully you'll pop back tomorrow for video number 2. So happy colouring!